Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. Hello, Scott. It is Friday, and on our channel, that means it is Community Day as well, where we don't really do anything different. But there is an open invitation for anyone who feels like it to join a Discord call, essentially, and discuss some technology topics. Nice. I got a pog. Um, Anyway, I am moving windows around because, as per usual, I have been working all the way up until my timer counts down to 0. If I move this over here. So, if you guys don't know, Prog Testing sent me a message on Discord that reminded me about the Microsoft Learn Cloud Skills Challenge. And this one is the Microsoft Ignite Edition. This is the same type of challenge that I took to get my AZ-204 exam for free. And not only did I get the exam for free, but I ended up passing it. So if you are interested in getting a free certification exam, so it's not the actual certification itself, keep that in mind, it's just the exam the exam itself, which exams can cost up to $140, $150. So let's just take a look at one of these. So for example, the AI Automate Challenge. You have, or it starts in, sorry, this is usually a countdown for how much time you have. It starts in 12 hours-ish, or 12 days. 13 days, almost 12 days, that's what I'm trying to say. So the certification is an official certification that says you are a skilled professional in whatever that technology is. So I'll show you where this one leads to. This one talks about well, you get a free certification exam and then you choose which one to use it on. But there are specific exams that you can use that on. And yeah, apparently they're not going to show you the courses that are specific to this challenge before the thing begins because, you know, they don't want you to like complete it ahead of time or something. I don't know. So if we go into the rules, they usually show which exams you can take. Here they are. And so you can take any exam from AZ-305, that's crazy. Implementing Microsoft DevOps solutions. This is probably, if I was going to do this, that would probably be, well, then again, it's AZ-400, so who knows. But that would probably be the exam that I would want to take. I'm just really not looking forward to having to study all that much again. Because once you complete the challenge, as long as you complete it before the end of the exam, the challenge, you can get the exam, the free exam, starting from November 18th, and you have until February 15th to do the exam. So that's kind of cool because that gives some time to do the studying that you would need to fill in any of the things that you missed to take whatever exam you're going to take. But these are the exams that you can use the certification exam certificate thing on. And if you're interested in knowing what the process is like for doing the Pearson VUE online certification versus doing the in-person certification exam, I can give you some information about that. I've experienced both now, except that my in-person exam was at a testing facility for Security Plus certification. But this most recent one was at home, and it was with an online proctor. So the in-person exam, the way that you do that is you go to a testing center, you check in, and then they have a room that's behind a locked door essentially and a screen. And you go into that room, they sit you down at the computer, you're not allowed to talk, you're not allowed to mumble your words. You don't have headphone, no phone, no anything. Everything goes into a locker. And yeah. So completely quiet place, but many testing stations, many people. It sounds like a movie. Sounds like nice. And then once you're done, you turn around, you raise your hand. You don't actually get up on your own. You wait for the proctor to come to you. And then they escort you out. And you get to know right away whether, in most cases, all 2 exams that I've taken so far, you know right away whether you pass the exam or not. So yeah, I'm interested to find out details of this and what the recommended courses are. It doesn't have any recommendations like first take the AZ900, so that's cool. And look, oh yeah, this is what I wanted to show by finding one. In US dollars, this exam would cost $165 just to take the exam. Regardless of whether you pass or fail, it's going to cost you $165 to take the exam. So this is a pretty valuable challenge. I think it's a really cool opportunity that they give. And hello, the Boxy Bear with those puppy, wolf, dog emojis that are going to make me die. I love them. They're cool. They're so good. And so is this one. God, don't put these. These are awesome. These are amazing. Yeah, 165 is pretty average. I think the Security Plus exam is somewhere like $215, and then the retakes are in the hundreds, single hundred. But yeah, I'm really liking this, but at the same time, I would want something that is towards that DevOps thing. Oh, that's going to be hard to decide which one of those I want to do. If I even do it. I mean, there's no problem with me doing the actual Microsoft Learn courses. Oh yeah, by the way, the way that the challenges themselves work, at least the one for Microsoft Build, was that they give you a bunch of learning paths, and then you take all of the all of the the terminology in these is so weird. Take me to my page. So this is called a learning path. Yeah, so each individual one of these is a learning path. And then the modules would be the set of courses. And then in each module, you have multiple units. So a unit is just a page of information related to that module. And then each module is one aspect of a learning path. So let me kind of show a learning path that had more stuff. Like discover Azure. No, let's go for the whole learning path. That's a badge. There, develop. Guys, I want the whole thing. Okay, so this one has 2, for example. So this one is integrate caching and content delivery within solutions. And then the first learning path, or the first module in it, is how to use Redis, and the second one is how to use CDNs. And then this one has 7 units, this one has 6 units. Some of the units are hands-on exercises, some of them are labs, some of them are log into portal.azure.com and create this super duper expensive thing so that you're paying just a couple pennies, because if we have 1 million people paying a couple pennies to complete their courses, then we're going to make a lot of money just by providing free courses. What? Anyway, that last part didn't really sell it. I didn't actually do a lot of the in Azure portal.azure stuff. Stop trying to send me these. Because I was able to watch it get done, so that was really helpful. I found other courses on YouTube or other people talking about those specific topics and watched them do the portal, do the Azure cloud stuff so that I could experience it. And that's how I studied. And it was really helpful. So if you supplement these courses with other resources, then I think you will be successful. Okay. Guess it's more about giving stakes so you can't just keep redoing it until you get it right. Not just that, the Boxy Bear. Here's the other thing about, and that's just an opinion that I have, but getting certifications. There's one aspect of it that says, all right, we are acknowledging officially from a trusted source that you know how to do XYZ, that you are a skilled professional in whatever the technology, whatever the topic is for that certification. The other one is there are no other places that are going to be certifiable, that are going to be credible in order for you to get certifications. So since there's little competition, we're going to charge you however much we want per certification, as opposed to, you know, we are a reputable source, and if you want to take the certification on our dime, we'll help you with that. There's no such thing as that. I don't get it. Anyway, hello Mixer. Thank you so very much for there are tons of .NET streamers. Have you heard of C# Fritz? Have you heard of, oh, I guess those are game developers, but have you heard of Thindle? Have you heard of Thindle? He is, oh no, my shoutouts are broken. Oh, because I did add shoutout. Thank you, Scott. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so there's Thindle, there's Captain Commerce. Yes. Shout out Captain Commerce. These are really good people to check out. They're members of our community day. They are members of our community. Captain Commerce, actually I should have done this one, works on a technology called NOP Commerce, NOP Commerce, but recently he's switched over to Blazor web development to work on a personal project, card tracking thing for him and his son. And I thought that was really cool. So he's doing some Blazor development and learning it. We on this stream are working on a financial management app that is open source, so you can definitely check out the repo. I have the information about what this project should do, what we want it to do. And the way that we've been working through it on stream is trying to employ best practices such as test-driven development, making sure that we are following good design principles. And I'm not like, you know, a super duper stickler on making sure that everything is solid or following one pattern or another. It's just making sure that the organization of the code is clean, we have good architecture, and we have tests. So we've been working hard. I'm not very good at doing tests, so I'm learning tests at the same time. So we've been going really slow, and I hope that slow is an okay pace for you, because it's the pace that I'm going to be going. But you come on a Friday, and on Fridays we also have a thing that I like to call Community Day, even though it hasn't been very different from our normal streams. I try to have, well, I don't really try very hard anymore at the moment because I've been so busy with my job, and There's even more going on. Today, for example, I started off the day with having two meetings scheduled, two scheduled meetings. And by 9:15, I had 5 total meetings scheduled, and I had already been in 2. So it's like, oh my goodness. Thankfully, they are honoring my schedule, and on my schedule, I put the times that I am not available, such as from 10:30 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. because I stream. Yeah, meetings are productivity killers. Unfortunately, one of the meetings, which yeah, one of the meetings, I'm on the wrong calendar. One of the meetings is just a morning coffee social that happens on Fridays, and that is part of team building essentially. So it's good to be there. A second meeting was because there was an emergency that came up with Azure DevOps, and so they were needing help with making artifacts available and feeds available. And then the third meeting was our normal daily stand-up, so that one was expected. And then the next meeting that got scheduled was we have an effort that we are pursuing, and so we're meeting up over the next 5 work days to get the response returned back to the requesters. And so we're meeting every day for 30 minutes. So next Tuesday is going to be interesting. I have no idea what we're going to do next Tuesday because my schedule just exploded. And then I have a what do I keep calling it? Career counseling session. It's called something more specific in our company, but it's pretty much a career counseling session. So I have one of those today as well to finally check that off the list of things that I need to have done. But yeah, all of my other work has been pretty fun. I've only been documenting. So like for those of you that are new here, my actual job is I took someone else's UI UX design, which is a redesign of an existing application. I joined this team that is maintaining the existing application, and I did all of the UI development based off of those designs in Blazor and put it into the repo, put it into the project, and started hooking up all of the existing backend logic, existing system logic into the new UI so that I can get stuff like the existing information getters stuff. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it's called. Or I'm trying to generalize it so I don't give too many details away. So with that, there was another effort where there's a separate product team, same company, separate product team that is made up of a different contract, different consultants, and they want us to take their product and put that product functionality in our existing product. And so I'm driving the approach for integrating the UI elements, and then they're going to give us pretty much the executable for being able to run whatever functionality their app can do, as well as give us the ways to connect into it. It's most likely going to be over Signal R, and it will just be running as a daemon with communication with the app. So we send messages to it, get messages back. That's going to be fun. And of course, all of this done by October 31 because end of fiscal year for them. That's their fiscal year end. It's like, okay. So a lot of those meetings are, yeah. Yeah, most of my tasks have to be done yesterday. So what I've been working on today for my my part, because I'm finished with the majority, like I would say 95% of the UI implementation, everything is ready to be hooked up. I've started doing some of the hookup and have been getting actual system information data, for example. What computer is this running on? What operating system? Because they've already implemented that. That's nothing that I've done. Even though that is fun stuff that I would love to do myself and I know how to do, but I still can't believe how much fun I had where my only responsibility was put this UI together based off of this design. I hate doing UI. And now I'm gonna say it. I love doing UI. Especially with Blazor. Like if I had to keep working in JavaScript, then I might complain some. But this is Blazor. It was like all C#. There was only one JavaScript interop that I had to write, and that was for doing theme switching. And I already had written that a long time ago. So, it was so good. So much fun. So now I'm pretty much going through every single UI element, saying what it should do, whether it has been fully implemented or if it still needs to be hooked up. We're going to go through that together. And look, it's Thindle. I was just telling you about him. We're going to go through that together probably in tomorrow morning sprint and cost it out, essentially. How much time, how much effort for the remaining bits. But that's something that they want me to get done yesterday as well, even though they asked me to do it yesterday. Definitely only nice things. Yeah. And Scott did it. How dare you, Scott? So yesterday was very crazy for us, by the way. Um, he just keeps sinking lower and lower. Yesterday was pretty crazy. I thought that I was going to be able to stream at the normal time, but then I had a random meeting scheduled, and it was about that effort that I told you about. And then I delayed it until after the last meeting that I had scheduled. And so after the meeting, I started the stream immediately, but then I got a call from my project manager immediately after that call. And then he talked to me for about an hour, and I was like, we really don't need to go through this exercise. But whatever. That's whatever. And so I ended up spending the first 45 to 50 minutes on jazz music exactly. So, Thindle was here. That's what reminded me. Thindle and Abatus. Was it Abatus? I think it was Abatus. And so we implemented a couple things in the bot that we didn't have before, such as, for example, prompt, dice roll. Wait, no, no. Well, do coin flip then. Oh, roll die. Roll die. That's right. Roll kill. We need aliases. We absolutely need aliases. You can roll a single die, which will assume a six-sided die, or you can roll X number of die based off of the number that you give it. However, there's still an issue with that. 404 dice not found. Oh, man. Or the odds? That is something crazy to think about. What are the odds that rolling 15 60-sided die will give you a 404 exactly? That is insane. Are you sure? Because it's 60 pick 15 with replacement. So that's a lot. That is a lot. And then not only that, but sum those up. Yeah, there's more math than 60 pick 15. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking that it's only 60 pick 15. But yes, because you have the minimum of 1 per die, which means 15, and then whatever the maximum is, 60 times 15, which looks like 900. Yeah, that's right. Is it? I don't know if that's right or not. I can't brain right now. But then it has to be the combination of the different ways to get 404 from 15 60-sided die, which is insane. So you think it's actually 60 to the power of 15? Yeah, I can't. That was a long time ago. I can't remember that. So anyway, let me just show you the UI design. I showed you the repo, the UI design for this project, because again, we were trying to do this in a logical process as a solo developer, doing the full gambit of the development process. So first was ideaing. We would do the full blueprinting, but I haven't even decided whether we're going to deploy this or not. So I didn't even worry about backend. Like the only backend stuff that we cared about was, are we going to go ahead and choose a specific database engine? And I chose SQL Server. And then are we going to have an API? And we do have an API. So those were the decisions that we made after deciding what this app should do. Then we were like, let's sketch out some. I'm not even going to bring up the whiteboard, but I wrote out by hand, by digital hand, what the database entities could be. You know, again, brainstorming, coming up with ideas. I drew an EF diagram, kind of. And then we talked about what screens we would have, and then sketched out some of the screens, and then created a Figma that would give us the overall look and feel of the application. And we started off with this flat view. Actually, I think we might have started off with the neumorphic view and then changed it to flat. But I liked it, the neumorphic idea. I had never heard of it before this, but I really like it. But I didn't like it for the landing page. It was like, it doesn't make sense for the landing page to have things that look and eventually would feel like buttons. So when you depress this, it would like, and so then the difference between neumorphic and flat or paper is, instead of having the element raised off of the surface, like floating above it, it's actually more like a physical plastic wrap kind of thing, or whatever they're called, vacuum wrap, that you put over these 3D objects. So these are actually looking and feeling like they are connected to the page itself. And they are raised physically with no gap underneath. So I liked it, and I know that we can do it, but I was like, it doesn't really fit our landing page. Although every time I look at it, it looks better and better. So I don't know. We could still decide to use it. So we went with flat, which will use shadows a little bit, not too much. I don't want to use too many shadows. And then we decided on a color theme that is, it's at least got the right contrast, but it's meh. It's meh. But yeah, the whole point of neumorphic with the bevel and stuff is to make it look like physical objects. So if we had things like a dashboard that had an odometer or some kind of dial that we would turn, and we modeled that out essentially using HTML and CSS, that's where having a neumorphic design would be appealing for that type of application. But we don't have anything like that in our application, so it made more sense to be flat. And hello, Italo. I mean rayon. Hello, hello. So anyway, we went with this color scheme. I'm not the biggest fan of the colors I ended up choosing. And I say we, but when I say we, I mean I kind of force you guys along. I try to take your opinions and thoughts and integrate them, but most of the time you guys just go with whatever I say. So I will not blame you for making these poor color decisions. It's all on me. But yeah, this was just mocking out one of the data entry pages. All of the data entry pages are going to be similar to this. That's why I only did one for now. Key screens is what they would be called. But here's our data entry page. Here is our transaction history list that will always be showing at the bottom, so you always have access to it. We may have like an expander that brings it up to the full screen so that you can see all of your transaction history in a table view, making it easier for you to know where your spending is. This is a placeholder leaving room for the account overviews. So all of the accounts that you add to this financial tracker application will give you the balance in that account, whether it is a income type of account or a spending or accounts payable versus accounts receivable. Those types of things, although we're not getting that far into it. It's just I wanted a better way to track my finances. So right now I use Mint, which is cool. I do like having Mint, but yeah, I don't know. The thing that I like to have on here is my checking account, my savings account, and my credit card, and maybe cash, which I rarely ever have cash, and I rarely ever track cash. But when I spend with my credit card, which is usually the way that I spend money, then I want to be able to enter that transaction into here and say I spent this amount of money on this day. It's still pending, so no posted date yet. And then later on, I want to go through and say, all right, it posted today. Click. There's my posting. And then have that reflect in here where it'll say my balance and then my adjusted balance for the. So my balance will have the current balance and then in parentheses the pending amount, and then the adjusted balance will be the current balance minus or plus the pending amount, depending on what kind of account it is. Make sense? I hope so. So what we did last, actually no, what we did after this step was we went ahead and implemented the UI. The thing that I do for my job. We created the deposit data entry components, and we put it on our main page. And we said, depending on, not on our main page, on the data entry page, depending on which tab is active, that will tell us which data entry form to have. And I just had a thought, but that's okay. I think we're going to be able to do that. So that'll tell us which of these components to render, which data entry component to render. And based off of that, each of those is surrounded by an edit form. We're using the data annotations on each of the view models that are going to be used for this so that we can get validation messages. And they're all hooked up with a button type submit. And that submit will perform on valid submit only if the data annotations validator returns no model errors. Cool. And then that is in code behind that says set everything to we are trying to submit the response. There is no current response because we are now trying to submit. Set current response equal to the actual service method to add, and you'll see why we're doing it this way shortly. Once that's done, then set submitting to false, regardless of whether it was successfully added or not. Notice I'm not doing any of the error handling in here. I'm also not checking, was this transaction successful? Instead, my response model will hold on to that information. This thing has stuff like error messages, exceptions, and validation failures. And then we can find out whether this was an error if any of those three or if all of those three were empty is what I meant to say. And if all three of them were empty, then that means that there were no error messages during this entire request process, request and response. And so if there is an error, then we would display that error up here. And notice I'm using this property here that gives me a render fragment based off of the errors, the exceptions, and the validation failures. Oh, good times. Good times. So what is the deal about this service? Well, this service here, the way that I structure my applications is I use interfaces for my services. I don't normally use generic interfaces the way that I'm using it here, but it just seemed to fit. It seemed to fit really nicely because I have 3 different transaction types: deposit, payment, and transfer, that all have the same behavior as far as they all need a get by ID, add, update, delete, which is a soft delete. And so why not just have one service that does that for all of the transaction types? And when you see this, you'll notice that they all implement iTransaction data entry view model because they are all transactions. It's just what extra details do they get based off of whether they are a deposit, a transfer, or a payment. And so a deposit gets target account, deposit reason, Menmo, and amount. No, actually just amount. Memo is part of the overarching one. So yeah, it is. And then a read-only total so that the view model itself knows how to get the total. So in this case, for a deposit, the total is just the amount that was specified. For a transfer, the total is just, that's a transaction. For a transfer, the amount is the total is just the amount that was specified. So transfer is moving money from one of your tracked accounts to another one of your tracked accounts. And then for a payment, total is, let's take a look at every single one of the line items: sales tax, service fees, delivery fees, discounts, tips, subtotal, all of those items, whatever granularity you want to specify for each transaction. Sum those and then round them to 2 places. Why round them? You could just put a formatter on here, but I decided to round them here. Why not? I didn't even realize I did that. It's probably a Copilot suggestion, and I just went with it. So word to your mama, word to everyone, little cautionary note. It's not a full tale, it's just a note. Even though Copilot is a thing, I would still recommend typing out whatever logic manually at least once a session. Because you'll get suggestions from Copilot and you'll be like, oh yeah, Copilot has never failed me. And then you'll get something that's like, I don't know where this came from. I don't know how it works. You know what I'm saying? No, me either. Awesome. Good times. Boop. That goes there. Okay. So yeah. So that's how we wrote out the models. And since all of the models use the same base thing, and they all pretty much create a transaction record in the database, but with a partner, deposit, transfer, or payment, I gave them all the same type of service interface. So a service in my context is anything that provides functionality for performing work. And it's usually granular work. It is like one responsibility of work. So a transaction service is a service that will provide functionality for getting that specific transaction type of data, all records or records on a given page, given size and date filter, getting a transaction of whatever this type is, so deposit, transfer, payment, by ID, adding a transaction, updating a transaction, and deleting a transaction. Oh no, this is not good. Good grief. Okay, sorry, I just got a work email. Things are not going well. They have a release, and of course, on the release is when all of the what even can I call those? Just services. Now I'm going to overload the term services. All of the services that they use during the build and release pipeline. Huh? Is is that how your name is supposed to be broken up? It's Italo Rayon. So they have some services that they need to log into. They have a service account that does part of that for them. And two of our testers are locked out, and the service account can't access some of the artifacts, and that's what I was helping with this morning. So that's fun. So they're trying to do a manual release and then manual testing, manual pushing the testing through the automated systems. It's crazy times. Crazy, crazy. Okay, so why use an interface is the next question you might have. The reason that I use an interface for my services and I use one interface, yeah, isn't it nice? The reason I use one interface is because I want to be able to implement this based off of the app that I'm running. Yeah, I used to, but since everything is pretty much expected to be async nowadays, I don't remember where I got the impression that we were moving to not using the async suffix on methods. I think that it's more descriptive. So I could argue with myself to add those again. In fact, I am using the async suffix on all of my methods that are async in my work product. Yeah, and Tyron does as well. Tyron uses async suffix on all of the methods. And we're talking about just adding it to the name of the method itself. We're not talking about always putting async when you're using task kind of thing. That's a completely different thing. So since I'm getting a lot of two people that have agreed, which is a lot, I'm going to go ahead and update that. There's no harm in doing it. Whenever I have an async method from now on, I will make sure to add the async suffix. Well, except for my event handlers. And the reason for that is when I created these event handlers, I am not sure whether they're going to be async or not, or whether they're going to return tasks or not. But my placeholders do. But this could, well, this one here, for example, is implemented, which means that I am most likely not going to use any async methods in here ever. So those are just going to be void, not async. And then we don't need to return it. Yay, and there are 3. Cool. Okay, so I am 1,000,000% okay with that. So now back to the question of why use a service interface. And as I was starting to explain, I like to be able to have the same interface on both sides of the wire. On the client side, if I have an app that is running where it needs to do requests from the client, I want that implementation to be separate from the implementation of the way that it works on the server side of things. If I'm doing something like an MVC application, Razor Pages, Blazor server, that's all running only on the server. And well, except for the, no, that's just a component library. Never mind. So that's all just running on the server. I don't think there's a such thing as GUID IDs. Wait, yes, there is. I'm kidding. I'll give you that opinion in a minute. So the point is, I just want one source of truth for the interface. I've seen instances where you have an interface for the client side. Oh my goodness. For the client side implementation and another interface for the server side implementation. And it's confusing. It's confusing. It's oh my goodness. Scott. Oh man. Okay, so Scott asked, what are my opinions on using GUIDs as IDs? So for databases in specific, like if it's a NoSQL database, I think it's absolutely okay, especially if you're going to use that ID as well as your partition key. Completely okay. However, for SQL databases, I have heard, and I'm not going to give you the full picture or the full understanding because this was 2 years ago maybe that I was looking this up, and we even had a discussion on the stream about it. But the way that your indexes are broken up into pages, when you add a new record, so tables that have high transactions on them, when you add a new record and you give it that GUID, and it's trying to partition your table based off of that, not partition, trying to page your table based off of that ID so that it's faster to do lookups and faster to query and stuff. It's going to take longer for the write process, for writing a new record. And so if you have tons of records, then that might involve shifting a lot of records around in that paged view. Sudden Gun is here. Hello, Sudden Gun. And again, this is just based off of my memory and recollection of what I understood from it, which could be completely wrong. So if I am wrong and any of you know that I'm wrong, then please correct me. But there's just a performance hit when you do use GUIDs as the ID. The benefit of GUIDs is that you can assign them in the application, or you can do sysidentifier as your default value. up here. No query. You do select system unique ident sys unique. Oh, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, it is unique identifier. No. Is it a method? No. Function, whatever. Anyway, you can default your GUID value using that kind of field. Whatever kind of field it is. Oh, wait, it's a type of field, isn't it? But what is the default value that you can put in there? I've used it before. I know there's a default that can generate a GUID in SQL. Doesn't matter. Don't look it up. It's just a waste of time. Point is, oh, it's just new GUID. I think you're right. No. Oh my gosh. New UID? Nope. None of those. Anyway, point is, he just couldn't not look it up. Anyway, point is, you can get one by default, or if you're using an application where you need to know the ID of a record up front, then you can manually assign it and be confident that you're going to get an ID that is not going to collide with another ID in your database. There is a very, 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 very small chance that it will, but you can still have a lot of confidence that it won't. So if for some reason you need to generate IDs ahead of time and you can't avoid it, then GUIDs are great for that. But in any other situation, where you don't need to know the ID, you don't need to obfuscate the ID either. You can just use an auto number. Ints are smaller. Ints are sequential, or longs even. You can use longs if you have a lot of records and still be able to capture most cases, unless you are a massive organization and use one table to store. I don't know how big int is. Something, or not int, something bigger than long dot max value. If you use that many records, even if you're not storing that many and you just delete it and then add new records and delete so many records, like a high transaction table, you're still going to have more than enough rows. I could see it maybe being an issue over maybe tens of years on a super duper high transaction table. Yeah, but I don't really see that being an issue. But in that case, yeah, a GUID would be absolutely perfect for that. But everything else, an int is small, small footprint is what I'm trying to say. And it's sequential, which means that when you are generating the indexes, when creating a new record, you don't have to worry about the primary key causing any paging issues. Jeez. Mixer says, like, if you were Netflix in your new arrivals table, you definitely could do with tiny ints without a problem. That's terrible, but true. Oh my goodness. But yeah, like if you're sending the ID and you need the ID to not be scannable, essentially, because let's say you have an exposed API endpoint that you can query by ID, and people find out that all of your IDs are sequential, so they can just feed endpoint /1/2/3, and then just keep doing all of these requests, get values, get your entire database eventually, or whatever. Then that could be an issue. And in which case a GUID would also help you with that. User tables are great for using for having GUIDs as IDs. That way you can associate a specific number and then guess the next number and then the next number to find all users. So that's my long-winded answer. I hope it responded to your question properly. I'm still looking at the doggo. I don't even like dogs, guys. Why do you keep finding these really, really appealing pictures of dogs that I like to look at? They're kawaii. That's better. He's holding me at gun. It is holding me at gunpoint. I don't know if this dog is male or female. I have to ask Craggy. Craigie? 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 Otto is the name of the dog. Still don't know if that's male or female. Neither does Scott. Yeah. Okay. So how do we implement this interface? I told you why I use interface on both sides and the same interface for both sides. It just makes maintaining the app easier. We know the return type is going to be the same that we get back from the server that comes back to the client that the client is expecting. So the implementation happens in the actual running app for the appropriate side. So for example, if I use a Blazor WebAssembly app, then my interface is going to be implemented in the shared client project because I may have multiple things doing the same client side operations. So I have a shared client project that anything that needs to do a service request using a HTTP client or whatever wire communication technology I want to use. That could be Signal R, that could be WebSockets, although do you do WebSockets from the client? You don't really do WebSockets from the client. You subscribe via WebSockets to get responses or get events. I don't know that you really purposefully send WebSocket information from the client to the server. Anyway, you can discuss that. I could be completely wrong about that as well. I'm okay with being wrong. Don't take anything that I say as the actual truth. Take it as my inferred opinion, based off of things that I know, and sometimes just based off of intuitive logic. Probably most of the time based off of intuitive logic. Anyway, so on the client side, when we implement any of these methods for my apps, which are going to be either Maui or WPF or Blazor WebAssembly, those will do HTTP requests to an API endpoint. And that API endpoint is going to live on the server as well. Findle was talking about his approach that he does with his Blazor apps. So what usually happens is people will ask me, which version of Blazor are you using, Blazor Server or Blazor WebAssembly? And I say both. And the reason that I say both is because I have a Blazor WebAssembly with hosted backend, as well as a Blazor Server app, but both of those have the same UI component library. And when they use that single component library, it doesn't matter where I'm running it. And Lord Korsgaard says, most of my statements are educated guesswork. Yeah. So that's the more common term for intuitive, whatever I said. Deductions? I don't know what word I tried to use.
It's over 9.
It sure is. It sure is. Actually, you know what? This file is still pretty small. We haven't gotten into the thousands of lines of code yet, but we will, I promise. It's me, after all. I'm not using success state anywhere. Because I think that I was going to do, yeah, never mind. I have a note for myself for what to do with success status. So on the client side, whether it's that Maui app WPF or Blazor WebAssembly, we do that request to the API. The API lives on the server. The Blazor server project lives on the server too, if I am running this in server mode. So the point of my story was Thindle was asked a similar question. Do you use Blazor WebAssembly or do you use Blazor server? And his response was both, but for completely different reasons. And I love his approach. He initially starts up his app in Blazor server with his pre-render component for the main page. And at the same time, he's loading Blazor WebAssembly. Oh, he starts with client and then gets a server rendered page. Well, I don't know his full process. He'll be able to explain it. If you go to his channel, he'll explain it better because I only caught part of it. I'm only half paying attention when I'm there. Half is probably a bit much. But he's loading the client side Blazor Bootstrap, JavaScript Bootstrap to launch Blazor WebAssembly, which means that his ID app element will render with all of the Blazor server stuff until Blazor WebAssembly is finished downloading the runtime and starts preparing the initial screen. But then there's this thing where you have to balance using the correct state class or just state management so that you don't go back to the home page when it loads the WebAssembly one. Yeah, so his goal was to make pretty much every page pre-renderable so that you can see it in SEO. You can see it from search engines, pretty much. And also, it would be an improved user experience because the app opens, it's immediately interactable. They don't have to wait for the .NET runtime, the WASM version of the .NET runtime to download for the application to start up and execute. They're just in the app and it works. So I want to look into that. I want to do it myself. But first, we're going to finish the progress that we're making because my guess is that there's going to be no changes to the way that we do our actual logic because I'll have both the server side and the client side implementations of these services. Those things will be injected into the single UI that is driving the UI for whatever version I happen to be targeting. The differences will be in my state classes or cookies or, I don't know, local storage, whatever it's called. Session storage and local storage. But the application start will be the thing that says start with Blazor server, or start with whichever app we're supposed to start with, but serve these pre-rendered Blazor server versions of the app until Blazor WebAssembly takes over that div ID app. And you removed pre-render from Blazor server to just for local storage. So now it's just server. Interesting. Does it cause that big of an issue? Because I'm sure that you could rewrite your logic for when it tries to access local storage for the first time. Oh, you were just okay with it. Okay. I'm okay with it too then. So yeah, so the last piece of the puzzle is what does the service implementation look like on the server? And that is in a project called Shared Server in case I decide that I want to use an MVC app or a Razor Pages app, or what if I'm using a console app that is running as a daemon on the server, and I'm doing some kind of gRPC call to it. Is that redundant? gRPC call? Local storage is used for every request for authorization using JOT. Yeah, I've seen that approach. And I think it's still used by default with the built-in identity that you get. I can't show it anywhere because I don't really. Oh, yeah, I can. Yes, I can. Test. F12. Application. Local storage. That's not it. That's the map. There it is. My OIDC connection while I'm on the login page. And then I log in. And because I'm navigating pages, I am losing the session. And that's why it gets stored in local storage instead of session storage. And it's not just navigating pages. It's going from a server-side served page to my actual app. Spa type of thing. Are there any patterns you could suggest to look at to cache master data in local storage and update them with Signal R when necessary? If you are accessing local storage, then there shouldn't be any reason to target them directly with Signal R with that technology. But if your app is listening for Signal R messages and you do the logic in there, then yeah. I still wouldn't use local storage to cache data though. So the things that I would use local storage for is things that should carry over across browser tabs that are simple values. For everything else, I would use IndexedDB if it needs to be stored in the browser itself. So what kind of data are you calling master data? Oh, IndexedDB. Let me show you that real quick. Has track. So here's an application called hazard tracking. You will see that I have a database, in my IndexedDB. And so this would be my cached master data. Well, this is actually cached lookup data. Let's actually get logged into this. Oh, customer and vendor data. Would you really want to cache that in your browser? So like things that you should be okay with storing in your browser are lookup list data, for example. Things that don't carry any I have the current user account. That's funny. I don't remember doing that. But we have the user account in here as well so that we can cache your login session, which is terrible. No idea. No idea why I did that. But we have lookup data. And so what would happen with lookup data is, so it is lookup data, is if the user goes offline, then when they open up this component which has not loaded and has not done the go to the server and get the lookup list data, I still have my lookup list data in my dropdown because like you have two places to store. On application initial load, you can store it in memory in a state variable that's maybe a singleton or a scoped or whatever that's passed around in your application. And so you store all of these values in memory and use them when you need them using dependency injection. Or let's say we started the application while we were offline. It could still load your cached user interface as well as have the data available for your lookup lists. So I can still interact with this app even though I am offline. And I could even submit this and save it as a draft while I'm offline. The first thing that it does is it stores that record in local edits. And then when I go online, and of course this thing down here says I couldn't connect with the server. The last time that I updated was 11:38. You try to save this thing, you have an unsaved change. So then you click update and now it goes, hey, I have a connection to the internet. Now I can update. Well, I guess we still don't. I'm so blind. Where did we go? Okay, and then we go, hey, I'm able to update now. It's not a small WASM, it's a big WASM. It is a completely offline available application, PWA. And so the intent of this app is, let's say that you've loaded this once while on a stable network. It's downloaded all of your lookup lists, and you're taking your tablet or your phone or whatever device you have out into the field, because these guys go out into the field and look around for hazards and stuff like that. And they don't have internet access wherever they happen to be, but they want to still launch the app for one. And then for two, they want to be able to add new records so that when they are back where there's internet connection, these records will get updated. So yeah, the local storage here, or the IndexedDB here, acts as a cache to hold all of those. And then like the pattern for this is every single transaction, every single update or add action first goes into IndexedDB, no matter what, connected or not. Then the next step is try doing the actual service call to update this record in the database. When we get a message back that that's successful, remove that record from local edits. And the cool thing is that this is a NoSQL database for the most part. So you could have one local edits table, and that will be the local edits for a new report. Those will be the local edits for a change to the items in a list, the naming of an item in a list. And they would all be stored in one table. It's just you would know the type of data that's being stored. The only thing that you do is a request. So it's not using SignalR. I mean, you can use SignalR to know, but the thing is you do the store the record here in this table. Then the next call is your service dot perform this action. And that service will either get a 404 not found, it'll get a unavailable, it'll get whatever the error is that you get back from not having internet access. And if more users have changed the same record, then you have to worry about doing merging and squashing. So whose record do you take? Especially since you could do something like timestamp the record in here. So those are definitely things that you would need to consider. Definitely. But like you said though, Scott, it could be SignalR. So since WASM can communicate or can use SignalR as well, then you could just have your SignalR connection check to see, am I up? Am I up? Am I up? Am I up? But yeah, that's what this sync bar is for. This is the one that does the actual push all of the local changes to the server. If there are errors connecting to the server, this is supposed to display could not connect to the server. You have one pending change, or you have however many records in here pending changes. And then you have the automatic or manual retry button, as well as an automatic retry after timer.timeout or elapsed. Sorry. Oh, is IndexedDB built in? No. This was the actual one of the one of the 13 projects that I worked on for my previous job. I always forget how many. So I'm either overestimating or underestimating. So there was HasTrack, RMA, chain of custody. Straight out of the 90. Oh. RTrack. DDMS. DDMS. DDMS was such a good app. My wife helped me design this and pick the colors and stuff. Oh, they were good. I worked for a company, and that company is the one that owns these products. So it wasn't like a personal consulting situation for me. And we were hosting it, or I don't know if they still are, but hosting it on Azure. I'm assuming they are. Or AWS is what I said. What did I say? I didn't say anything. Oh my goodness. Sorry for all of the back scratching and stretching. I kind of it's so weird because like I'm usually pretty aware of my physical body, but then there are times that I'm so overwhelmed that I just completely forget. I forget. So, Lord Korsgaard, were you asking if IndexedDB itself is still built in? Or is built in? Because in order to implement the IndexedDB stuff, I first saw it, and this is a good reason to watch Microsoft Build, to watch Visual Studio Toolbox, all of those things now. I said now because I read the word now. All of those things because you'll see Steve Sanderson on occasion show up. And when he shows up, you know that he's doing some experimental thing that no one does that's going to eventually become a thing. And so he showed his simple way of accessing IndexedDB using JavaScript interop, using someone else's idb.js library. It's like Jay Sakamoto, I think. GitHub.com, Jay Sakamoto. IndexedDB. No. idb.js. No. Anyway, I can't remember who it is. Oh, the concurrency handling. Yeah. I mean, I doubt. So like the IndexedDB is local to your browser on that machine. So you don't even have to worry about, like, you will be the only one able to modify any values inside of there. If you have multiple browser windows open on the same page and you save on one window, then the value of IndexedDB will already be updated by the time you try to save in the other window. So I'm assuming that there's still a small chance for collision. I don't know for sure though. But you would imagine that someone could write something that's fast enough to submit the same thing at exactly the same time and then have some kind of issue with writing to the same record in IndexedDB. But general use case is probably not a consideration you would need. You. The reason you know that I'm intelligent and that I am saying something important is when I take my time between words and repeat those filler words. What day is it today? The 30th. Yeah, it's really cool. So if you want a good example of using IndexedDB, The place that I believe I got it from was Car Checker. Is it just Car Checker? Damn. Is it Blazor Car Checker? Yes, Blazor Car Checker. Okay, so https://aka.ms/Blazor Car Checker. And if you go into client, www.root, you'll see this indexdb or idb.js file. That will be one thing that you need. The JavaScript interop file is this local vehicle store. You'll modify this. So you'll just take this file and use it in your code in www.root. And then you'll import it in here. And this does all of the JavaScript setup to connect to IndexedDB. That's what that does for you. Then local vehicle store now has access to this IDB variable. And then this is how you create your database. And he's got some comments in here. I don't know if that's good enough for you. And then this sets up all of the methods for being able to interact with IndexedDB. Nice. Cool. Enjoy. And then there will be an actual place where you can see the data. Yep, data local vehicle store, and this is the JavaScript interop file where you do the actual get data, save data, update data, all of that stuff using IndexedDB. So yeah, it's a really, really good example of accessing IndexedDB and using it. Yes. Yes. Buy SteelSeries Arctis Pro wireless with backup rechargeable battery because Findle's headphones exploded on them. No, they just ran out of battery. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. I hope you enjoyed that little segment. Good information, I hope. Hope, 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 hope. Now I'm hungry. I gave away so much hope. Do I have time to eat after the stream? I do have time to eat after the stream. Yay. Okay. I have 2 more meetings scheduled for this afternoon, so that's going to be fun. Plus the thing that I am working hard to get out today. Okay, so we talked about the server-side implementation because that can be run anything that has access to the server directly, whether it's to do stuff with the file system, with devices, with network resources internally, with the database. So that does the actual work to, in our case, add the transaction to the database for this method specifically. So before we actually wrote this method, we learned about testing and test-driven development. So I think my approach, now that we've gone through an entire process, is going to be create my service interface, describe the methods that we're going to have, write, and then, add the server and client-side implementation classes, tell them to inherit, and then build out this thing. Tell it to put all of the methods in there for me because I'm lazy. They will all get added with throw new not implemented exception. Then write all of the tests for each of the methods. Then after writing all of the tests for each of the methods, implement them one by one until all of the tests turn green eventually. So good news is we have a working test that we learned quite a bit from actually. oops, open on this screen. And so I ran that test. It's building. It's running. We're not trying to run the counter test. We're trying to run the business logic test. And bang. Test complete and successful, which means, supposedly, that the logic that I wrote for this method satisfies the requirements of my test, indicating that it will be successful when I use it in practice. So many things going on at work. So another thing that we could do is use, what do they call it? Test delegates, test theories with I'm not going to remember. Method data. Can't remember. Anyway, so that we can test multiple inputs and expected outputs in the same test without needing to rewrite or write a test getter. But the other one that I learned about a long time ago, and I don't really remember how it works, is creating a separate class that will be the value provider for the test. So if you have a complex object that you're trying to pass in to the test, then you'd want to do it using a separate class, most likely. Right? It's probably something that I'll want to learn. I'm trying to get my mouse onto my work laptop so I can read this email. Okay. So we have our first test. We have a setup that I am going to use in this, which I already did. And I think I already did the setup for this. So I create a whole bunch of transactions. I add them to the database, in-memory database. Whoops. And then I run the service under test, but I need to create a new service under test, right? No, I am using the service under test that we get from, where do we get this from? Oh, from this method that prepares the service for us. And so SUT is apparently standard lingo for tests, especially in XUnit, at least from what I know, in XUnit. And it stands for system under test, but our system is a specific service. So I'm calling it service under test. Probably taboo, probably breaking laws. Wakarimasen. I don't know. So anyway, that's where we're getting our service created. So this thing sets up our database DB context factory for us, as well as creating a new DB context as an in-memory database. That's the factory. Where's the context? Anyways, right here. So I create the DB context here. I don't need this anymore because we are in mock helpers. The DB context is going to be a find main context, which is a static. Oh, right. And I made it to where every single time you do a get on this, you get a new DB context, a new financial management context, given these options that are set only once. Good idea. Well, thank you. Don't pat yourself on the back yet. There's still a lot of work. Right, set up test tables. Doesn't look like I'm using this anymore. I like deleting code, especially when I need it. And I'm like, why did I delete that? And then I have generate, not generate. Where is my fake data generator then? Where is... Where is this coming from? Mock data helpers. I don't remember seeing it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So we generate count number of records with random information in them because who cares what the actual data is? The thing that I'm caring about is, are we getting back the right data? And I can probably genericify this one more space. I'm going to try and see what happens. I'm going to duplicate this entire method and generate transactions of type iTransaction view model. Right. Actually, T transaction view model, because I want to be able to use that. And this will be, I need more to the method, where this is constrained to be an iTransaction view model. Bless you. And this would just be T view model. Oh no, let's just call it T view model. So that down here is if type of T view model, type of T view model, type of deposit data entry view model, then else null. Oops. And we can have a transfer, actually payment next. And finally a transfer. And we just update the actual fakes here. Fakes, these are not fakes. Fakes are a very specific thing. Why would you even think of using that word without knowing what a real fakes is? Oh my gosh, this kid. Transaction ID will be the same in all of them. I'm going to go ahead and move it above deposit reason ID so that it's the same in all places. You need a target account. Crap. You know what I don't have up here? My account did. So hopefully these accounts don't need to work. The account IDs. I mean, deposit reason ID didn't need to exist in the database, so hopefully account ID doesn't need to exist in the database. Okay, and then for this, we'll need some line item. They're called payment details now. They used to be called line items. And line items will be a new list of line items with a new line item that has an amount of this. It'll have an ID of manually. No, not manually. How did I do it before? I think I did start ID plus E, yeah, times 100. Plus 1. Can you not infer that this is a list? Oh, it can infer that this is a list because the type of payment details is iCollection of, whoops, new payment detail. And a new with amount, with line item type, ID. Let's just do 1 every time. I don't care. Neither does my mom. Speaking of, I haven't seen them on the stream lately. Hope they're okay. Not that I'm, All right, this is going to be plus 2. So we'll have 2 line items per payment. Why not? Line item type 1 and type 2 and type A. Cool. So now I have a way of generating any transaction type that I want. Oh, yeah. So check this out. So now when I generate transactions, for now, I'm going to hard code this as deposit data entry view model. But in the future, I could probably genericify even the test. That'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Where I make it an abstract test with its implementations, and then I just supply a T. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm kind of interested to find out. But we're not going to find out at the moment. Instead, we're going to make sure that we can add data so that by the time we get here, we actually get some. The end. That was terrible. Var test deposits equals this dot to view model. Okay, so this is what we're going to be expecting. And actually, this is called expected view models. All right, so maybe I am still missing some knowledge that I'm just now realizing, which is when I test this, it looks like I'm testing each property. So never mind. Never mind. Okay, so my first test is going to be assert dot, and then it said don't use true, right? No, use true and false. Okay, so instead of not null, oh wait, that is, these are still correct. So I do want those 2 asserts. But not empty, is that a thing? Yeah, I can check to see if a collection was not empty, and that'll be result dot return object. And so return object in this case is going to be my list of deposit entry view models that I am expecting back. I wonder if I actually need to test it for null first before I can test it for empty, because I was getting the green squiggly, and that would tell me that this is going to give me a null reference exception if return object is null. So I may as well go ahead and check for null first and then check for empty. So it's not null and not empty. And then each of the properties must equal. So how do I do that? How do I make sure that all of the objects in my list of values. Why are you a question mark? Oh, you're not a question mark. Deposit entry view model to list. Do I have a generic of you? Let's make a generic version of it. I transaction data entry view model. And that way we can do model dot to view model dot of type t view model to that's it. Oh, right. That'll do all of this stuff in one step. Okay, how do I make sure that every record in expected values exists in my return object? Oh yeah, that's a good test. So we have the same number of items back. And I think I heard someone tell me that it's generally a bad idea to use true for evaluating a Boolean expression. So is there true for all? All expected and then the action will be expected value or expected view model. The returned view models dot any I'm writing an email back to someone, sorry. I get quiet when I do this. I'm like completely focused. Here's my job. Um, cool. All right, so RVM dot. Yeah, that's going to be really hard. How am I going to verify that all of the items I'm expecting back are what I actually get back? Or is that even a thing that I should be testing here? Is it good enough to say that I got back the right amount of items? I don't think so. From my standpoint, that would just mean that my database request gave me the same record back the right number of times. Or there's still potentially duplicates, or something to the effect of I didn't actually get the right record back. And I really feel like I don't want to use, yeah, let's use all these. Let's just use all these. Can I write an assert inside of here? That would be cool. So if I do a return true there, oh, you can't? You can't have a method body in this one? Anonymous function. Returning void. Really? Oh, this is action of T. This is action of T. So I think I can just assert equal, and then my new deposits, my two adds are expected values, EVM. My new deposits are the return values, which are oh, I can't because I don't have a hello, Max. How are you doing today? Good to see ya. Dang. So I think I'm still gonna have to do it the way that I was thinking, which is return view models dot any assert any. Oh, there is no any. What is assert collection? Verifies that a collection contains exactly a given number of elements. Nope. I am doing good, says Max. And Abaddus is here. Hello, Abaddus. I think we broke a lot of stuff. I narrowed down the number of roll die to 20. Not narrowed, constrained it to 20. But you can still have a pretty large number. Oh, it still prints out at a large number like that. Yeah, and I don't have it to where you can just type in a normal number, a single number, but we can fix that. I'm okay with having it with that. How big is too big? That's what she said. Kind of, yeah. So I try to stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, which is what, an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago almost, until 10 minutes from now. And then on Tuesdays, it's later in the day. I love it. I love the camel. The camel. What did I do? What automated realms? What did I do? Okay, so that is the largest die roll that you can do and have it print out your results. A 20D 99 billion? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 999,999,999. And then I think we determined that it ignores the negative at the very beginning. And then what does it do with the negative here? Yeah, it doesn't know what to do with that. Oh, I didn't actually try that. You're right. We can keep counting. Wait, what? Yeah, no, the question is, you... Oh, I need to get rid of the negative. You wrote the same number that I did plus 1, and then you wrote that number with an extra 0, and it still worked when the maximum that I was able to... What? So what did it think that I did? Oh, I'm so confusing. Time to break this bot. What? So you count up, I count down. We'll meet somewhere in the middle. And here we go. 4, 3, oops, 43. Okay, so far you're seeing that 209 works. So what about 2100000? What's 2147? Oh, 2.147 billion. Because it's a long. Duh. I think you had an extra 2 in there. And so if we did 3999, oh, did I put the wrong number? Am I transposing? 147. Yep, 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 yep. And now a 1 at the end? Wait, what? Do I not have enough zeros? Oh no, did we break it? Yep, we broke it. Min value cannot be greater than max value. So I think it wrapped around and went into negative. Okay, so if numsides is less than, oh, duh. Let's just change this to less than or equal to 0. Do that same one that you did. Actually, I'll just copy that one. Yeah, but well, you know which one, the one that caused it to stop working. But let me finish resetting the bot. Connected. Almost. And there. Okay, it still broke. Min value cannot be greater than max value. What do you mean min value cannot be greater than max value? I'm checking to see if numsides is less than or equal to 0. Line 225. Yeah, it's definitely, so it's definitely this line that is doing the random. Oh, wait. Which we will do a debug console right line. You can tell that I've been working in Unity using debug.log, which is still okay. I mean, I could use that. One is how does, just give me number of sides. Numsides. And we'll do numsides plus 1. Oh. Oh. So because I'm doing plus 1 to max long, that's when it's wrapping around. So I'm sorry, but you can't ever roll the top number. No. For numsides equals long dot max value, lowercase long, that's an int. Int max value, not long dot max value. Okay, now let's restart the app. It's already restarted. Reconnect to Twitch. Reconnect to Twitch. Go. Okay. It's fun as how. No, why does that look like it's still... Oh, oh, it didn't crash. Perfect. So the max value that you can use is int.max minus 1. Bug fixed. Me too. So thank you for hanging out with us, Sudden Gun. Thanks for... I'm really glad you were able to be here. It was really cool to see you. I am going to get back to work as well. Remember that there is the .NET... I didn't close it. The just public service announcement for everyone. Remember that I can't even remember what it's called. I'm so blind. That there is a Microsoft Ignite edition version of the Microsoft Learn Challenge. If you finish one of these, which starts in a little under 12 days, if you finish one of these challenges, you will get a free certification exam, and those certification exams can be worth $165, for example, this one here, just to take the exam. So you would be saving that much for an attempt to get certified. One thing that I did notice with the previous one is these certifications usually last 2 years, but the one that I got from the free certification exam only lasts 1 year. So even if you got it, it's only good for 1 year, but you can at least put it on your resume for that year and say, I am Microsoft certified. I am Azure certified. I am an Azure associate. That's how they get you. But the good news is, if they do this yearly, then you can re-up your certification every year for free. That's a plan. But yeah. So that's it. That's it for me for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed your company. I will be back again. Plan on being back again on Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. 'Cause Batman. We'll be working through more of the running this test. Dang it, I should have at least run the test. Oh well, whatever. We're not going to know until Monday. I'm not even going to know until Monday to see if my asserts were good or not. I will push the code changes to the server though, so that'll be up to date. I'll do that immediately after the stream. This video will be posted to YouTube 24 hours after the stream. Yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. If you feel like it, hang out with us in Discord, ask questions, answer questions. I'll most likely not really be around, but it's still there. It's a resource. Yeah, ciao for now. Enjoy. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.